Okay, this is a tutorial on shell scripting in the bash shell in Linux. I'm running Linux Mint 14.1 in a VMware virtual machine, and I'm going to open up a terminal. And now I'm in the user interface, the command line user interface. This is the bash shell. Now the bash shell is a command interpreter that will take my keyboard commands, my input, and apply those commands, interpret them, and then apply them to the operating system. Now, using a command line interface like the bash shell here is a very powerful way of working with your operating system. It can be very fast, and you can navigate through a lot faster than using a graphical user interface like windows and icons. But not only that, you can write your commands into a text file and save it and make it executable and basically create a shell script or a program that will then be launched or can be launched and interpreted by the bash shell. So they call that shell scripting, and you're basically writing your own custom programs that you can use to automate tasks for your operating system and basically do anything. Bash is a command interpreter that has many of the programmatic features that you would find in powerful programming languages. So this is a beginner's tutorial basically on how to write your own shell scripts. So let's start with the very basics, how to create a hello world program or hello world shell script. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to have to open up a text file. So I'm going to use the Nano text editor, and we'll create a file in Nano called hello.sh. And I put the .sh file extension here just to let me know that this is going to be a shell script. Now, it's not necessary in Linux, because in Linux files don't have to have a file extension. You don't need to have a .doc or a .txt, because Linux does not rely on the file extension to know what kind of file it's dealing with. This is different in Windows, where in Windows you have to have the file extension, otherwise Windows has no idea what type of file it's dealing with. So I put the .sh there just to let me know that it's going to be a shell script. So I'll hit enter, and it opens up the file and names it hello.sh, and it's time to write our first shell script. So we're going to start with a hash bang, so we'll put in a hash, £, and then an exclamation point, and then we need to put the path to the bash program. So we'll go root bin folder and then bash. And this basically gives us a direct path to the bash program, and will let the interpreter know that when we launch the shell script, we want it to be interpreted specifically by bash. Okay, so then we'll hit the next line, and we can now put in our commands. We can put in our commands line by line, just like we're writing a program or any type of script. So we'll put in echo, and then we'll put hello world, and there we go. So it's only going to do one thing. It's going to basically output the text hello world, and that's it. So now all we have to do is save our file. So in Nano, to save our file, we do a Control-X, and it says save modified buffer, basically Y or N for yes or no. I'll put in Y, and then now I need to decide the file name. Now the file name is already hello.sh, so it loaded that name here for me, file name to write, hello.sh, and so I'll just hit enter to accept. And so now, if everything went correctly, we should have a file named hello.sh. Let's see if we do. I'll do an ls command, and you can see there's the file. And let's test to see if that text is in the file. So what I'll do is I'll cat hello.sh, and you can see there's the text that's inside of the file. So it did save correctly. So now we want to, now that we have, that's it. We've basically written our shell script and we now want to basically launch it like we're launching a program. Now, there's one caveat here, and that is that for this shell script, for this text file, to launch as a program, we need to give it execute permissions. If we do an ls-l, you can see that the file right here, it's a file. Notice these are all directories with a D here, and this starts with a dash, meaning it's a file. You can see that it has, the owner has read-write permissions, and then the group has read permissions, and then everyone, or the public, has just read permissions. But for a program, we need to have the execute bit set so that it can execute. So we need to basically change the permissions of this file and give it execute permissions. So to do that, it's pretty easy. We'll just do a chmod, and then we'll do a plus x, and then the file that we want to apply it to. And that should have done it. So I'll just do a clear here, clear command, and then we'll do another ls-l, and you can see now the file has turned from white to green, indicating that it's executable, and you can see that now it's read-write x, read x, and read x, so that the execute bit has been set on the program. So now we want to launch the program. Now, with a lot of programs in Linux, all you have to do is just type in the program name and it'll launch. And if we do that here and we type hello.sh, you'll see that it says, hey, hello.sh command is not found. That's because this shell script, which is basically a program, is not in a directory that is listed in the path variable. So basically the operating system, Linux, looks to the path variable to see all of the places where it's supposed to look to find programs, like inside, let's say, the bin folder, and it doesn't find hello.sh. So if we want to run this program, what we want to do is give it either an absolute path, right? So we could say root folder, home, then your username, and then the file. And you can see then it launches the program and echoes hello world to the screen, right? So we could give it the absolute path, or it's a lot easier to just say reference the current directory and then hello.sh. So // which is a reference to the current directory, the current working directory, and then hit return, and you can see that it launches the shell script and then echoes hello world to the screen. And so that's it. There is your hello world shell script. It's executable, and we've launched it, and now all we need to do is basically add more programmatic programming features to our scripts to try to do more advanced tasks and set up a situation where we can automate many of the things that we would do by the command line by just putting them into a shell script and then putting that shell script, let's say, running it or automating it to run at specific times using cron jobs or something like that, and we can then really, in a powerful way, manipulate how our operating system works.